Welcome back to Mountain Health Today. I'm Ted Owens, your host, a program about healthcare produced by the Tahoe Forest Health System. Today we're going to be talking about Patient and Family Advisory Council. We have some folks with us that can help us explore that and help us understand exactly how it works. Why don't we start first with some introductions of our guests. Janet, why don't you start?
I'm Janet Van Gelder, the Director of Quality and Regulations at Tahoe Forest Health System.
And I'm Doug Wright with Mountain Hardware and Sports in Truckee, California.
Trish Foley, Patient Advocate for Tahoe Forest Health System.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for making the time to be with us. This is an interesting area of outreach and learning and understanding. Trish, since you have the microphone, I'll direct the first question to you. If you could give us a little bit of a background about the Patient and Family Advisory Council, when it was established, how you determined what that model should be.
Sure. We actually had a meeting with our Board Quality Committee back at the end of 2013 to determine how we might best incorporate patient and family perspectives into the quality of care we provide at Tahoe Forest Health System. And at that time, we were deciding if we should do focus groups or an advisory council. And we had a conversation and did some benchmarking and determined an advisory council would be the best opportunity.
So by benchmarking, you were looking at other organizations,
Correct.
entities, hospitals that had something similar?
Yes.
And thought that this might be the best model for the community
Correct.
which you serve? Tell me, what's the composition of the council itself?
So it is currently, we have an active council where we have 7 current members. We are actively recruiting, so we're always looking for new members. We meet the third Tuesday of almost every month, about 9 times annually.
Okay, and when you say recruiting, is it recruiting or drafting? I'm looking at Doug here, and I'm dying to ask him how he got involved with the council. Doug, why don't you take a shot at answering that for me?
You know, I got involved, I was asked to participate by one of the doctors who's a friend of mine, and I had used the hospital for some health services, and so you have firsthand experience, which is really part of what we want on the council, is to be able to talk about what we experienced and then our thoughts of what could change to make it a little smoother, a little easier, a little more patient-friendly.
Have you been with the council since the very first day? Are you one of the original?
I think I am one of the original members, yeah.
If not the?
I could be the original member, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm going to ask that you pass the mic over to Janet, because tell me, Janet, how does the hospital system or the health system benefit from the input that you receive?
Well, the council has been meeting now for almost 2 years, and what our operational directors and managers, they come to the meetings and they share processes or programs or services that we offer within the health system with the council members and ask for their input on how we could do things differently or better and really meet the needs of our patients and families. So for instance, signage seems simple. However, you know, we have many regulatory signs we have to have posted, but it's really nice to have the insight and input from our customers, our patients, and our families on how we could present our signs better so it meets the regulatory requirement, but it is more patient-centered, family-friendly to our customers, our community members.
So just to be clear for the folks at home, this has nothing to do with specific care and how it's delivered. It's from the patient's perspective on what it is to move through the process and that type of input?
Correct. Another example is discharge planning. So as a patient or a family member, they're a patient in the hospital, whether it's an inpatient or an outpatient, we've had our advisory council look at the process that we go through with them to identify areas for improvement on how we could better, shall we say, go through the discharge process, whether it's discharge medications, the paperwork that we have to complete, the follow-up appointment with our physicians. So we've asked the advisory council members how we could make that, again, more user-friendly for them, so when they go home and they read their discharge instructions, it makes more sense and it's more meaningful to them than just a stack of papers. So that's another example. The Patient Family Advisory Council falls under our patient and family-centered care concept philosophy. It's part of our quality plan and part of our strategic plan as a health system and organization. We find it so important and so valuable that our patients and families really provide the input to us on how we can improve our processes and our operations. And
Okay.
I think Doug can attest to the value of that group
Well,
to us.
that's actually where I was going to go next. Doug, you've been with the group now for a couple of years. From your perspective, first off, have you seen value in some of the things that the committee has come up with? Have you seen implementation of recommendations, that the council has made to staff? Let's start with that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, obviously, medicine is highly regulated, and so you get on a council like this and you wonder, is it just for show? But it's absolutely not. As we've made recommendations as a council, implementation has happened on almost all of them. If it's possible to do it, they'll do it. And I think that's really refreshing, but it really speaks to the hospital too, and their desire to create a patient and family experience that is easier. It's hard enough to be sick, and so to have to navigate, this is huge. It's made a huge difference.
So I have to ask this question. Have you made recommendations that maybe as laymen you thought were a good idea that were shot out of the sky for one reason or
Absolutely.
another?
There's things there's a lot of regulations in the medical field, and so common sense, as we see it, doesn't necessarily always get to apply, but it's not because of the hospital's unwillingness to change. It's really just regulation that gets in the way.
And in addition to that, I would imagine you've learned a lot
A ton, yeah.
about how
Absolutely.
hospitals function, and you mentioned regulations. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and continue our talk. I want to understand a little bit about patient advocacy and whether you're seeing trends that are beneficial from the council's existence. You've been watching Mountain Health Today. I'm Ted Owens, and we'll be back in just a moment.